what was the talk the last week is the debut of Giulia. We got it last night versus Chelsea Green. Tommy, I'll start with you. What did you think of the debut last night for Giulia?
I thought the debut for Giulia was great. I thought she had a very, very brought exactly what she brings to the table. She had an excellent opponent in Chelsea Green. Again, Vic, Joseph, and Booker T. Vic giving her history, putting her over. I really, really enjoyed her debut, and I think, well, I know there's going to be more things to come because she's in the advertised main event of their first show on the CW. I'm more inquired to think of what Bully thought because he didn't see her body work, and this is his first impression of her. So kind of wanted to see if he started to understand her a lot more.
All right, Bully, floor's yours, my friend. What did you think of the debut of Giulia last night on NXT?
I will give her a good debut. I love her look. I like the presence. I'm not so much a fan of the expressionless face. I'd love to see some more expression from her. I'd like to see, like I said, it almost looks like she's took a Benadryl before she went out there. There's a very flat look on her face at times, like the entrance, like the presentation, like the look, like the mishmash of the gear. She wears lots of, she had like on a fur last night and tassels and a lot of different things that came together. In the ring, I thought it was a good match for her against Chelsea. She's going to have to learn how to work the American WWE style. If you watch her transition, it's very Stardom-esque. There was a spot in the match where she ran at Chelsea in the corner to give her like this modified splash back elbow. And then she just reached behind Chelsea's neck to kind of push her forward, where Chelsea did this forward roll. Like, that's very Japanese, very Stardom, very, hey, I just need you to get in position for the next move, as opposed to grabbing Chelsea and snap-maring her into position and making it look like a fight, and you're manipulating your opponent's body and putting them where you need so you can now go up for the next move or whatever, your next move is going to be. So you can see like the whipping of the rope sometimes of letting go of the opponent too soon. This is her the first match in NXT. She's probably had some warm-up matches in the PC. Maybe she's even had a match in America before. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really completely up to speed on Giulia and her exposure to American psychology, WWE psychology. That's why I said good first effort for her. Strong debut in the fans' eyes. Definitely going to need to adapt to the WWE style of working.
To Bully's point, when you're in the turnbuckle, when people sometimes, we usually, like when you're a heavier person, you say, I'll give you a squisher. And when that happens, because there's no room for you to move and you have to kind of take it, or to completely protect yourself, you move up a little bit because there's people who've hit you. And dude, I've been like, I felt like my feet were still standing, but my chest was where the post was. Like, you get bent in half on some people and you get squished in the corner. And then it's a pet peeve of mine when they throw somebody out of the corner and then they just do that roll, because there's no way that you can throw somebody that effortlessly that they're going to get out, or they're just going to be able to do a roll after you just delivered a shot to their stomach, to their chest, just to go up to do, I believe it followed up by a top rope drop kick.
A missile drop kick.
Yep. That is.
So that's a pet peeve of yours. And you did see that also, which I just pointed out.
Correct.
Okay.
but again, and I agree, and I do think that will change once you're in the WWE system, because honestly, when we talk about uh logical or things that make better sense, those are little things that when they're harped on in WWE, they're harped on in the developmental system, or they're harped on when you're training. And it means so much more if you blast somebody and that person can sell into position, or like Bully said, take her by her hair. Because I loved how she wraps her hands around the girl's hair as opposed to just a nice hair beal. Put her in place just to do that. Those are just the little simple nuances, because sometimes things become acceptable, but they're not. And I always say this: people watch, I shouldn't say people, I'll say independent wrestlers. They'll watch WWE, they'll see what's popular, and then they'll try to emulate it. But that emulation waters down what they do. There's only one person who should throw you by your head to the ropes, and that's Kevin Owens. But if you really think about it, if I'm throwing you by your head, you're going to go down. You're not going to go up. But Kevin Owens has established it because he does it into his finish, and then it looks cool. So then everybody else does it, but most people do it wrong. And when, again, Kevin does it, it's to set up his finish, as opposed to people are throwing people to the ropes all the time, because it's what we see on television. We want to emulate it, but then it's not done 100% correctly. That doesn't happen a lot in WWE. It happens, again, independent wrestling, or how we see it, or it's just different training, because it's acceptable other places, but it won't be acceptable done all the time.
And I want to isolate something that Tommy just said, quote unquote, because we see it on television. One of the first things I teach students at the Team 3D Academy is, just because you see it on television does not mean it's right. Does not mean it's technically sound. And if you saw it on TV and you do it in front of somebody to try to get a job, you might not get the job just because you saw that done on TV. Because once you get to TV, there's wiggle room for certain characters at certain levels. Like Tommy just pointed out, Kevin Owens can get away with it. When I see Giulia do it, it makes no sense. It's very Japanese stardom-esque, and it does nothing for Chelsea Green, because how did Chelsea Green get put in that position? Just because Giulia grabbed her by the back of the head and just kind of moved her hand forward a little bit. It doesn't make any sense. So you want, at this stage of the game, you want your work to be crisp. You want it to be tight. You don't want any flaws. You don't want any holes in it. When you watch Steamboat and Flair, there's no holes in the transitions. When you watch these masters of the art form of working, it's the in-between and how they got to the next moment in time that meant more than the actual moments in time. One of the best I've ever seen at whipping somebody off the ropes is The Rock. Go back and watch how The Rock used to whip you off the ropes. The pull, the push, and the follow through with the arm. It was that follow through with the arm where Rocky would put his hand on your back as if he was pushing you into the ropes, because getting whipped into the ropes in and of itself is stupid. Dave, I'm pretty freaking strong, and you're not. I can't whip you into the ropes. I could pull you with all my force and probably couldn't whip you into the ropes where you would bounce off those ropes back at me for me to hit you with a clothesline. But sports entertainment, yada, yada, we work together, we dance together. So you have to make the whip into the ropes look as realistic as possible. Watch The Rock do it. It's a beautiful. Go check out the wrestlers in AAA in Mexico or CMLL. It's deplorable, because what do? They just grab the hand and they just do this pass by thing. They're not even whipping each other into the ropes. But in those territories, that's acceptable for the way they do the art form. Giulia just needs to work on the transition and the American style, the WWE style.
Rhino's mini gore in the corner. If you don't brace yourself, or when he hits you, he kind of drives you up so your ass goes in between the top and the middle turnbuckle where he's almost protecting you. But he's coming. He's 300 pounds running at you, which he can still run and deliver it. But that mini gore, if that's hit wrong, your tailbone gets hit into those turnbuckles. And sometimes, or even on indies, the steel is where the two rods meet. There's no give. So it's, again, a quick risk to break your back on a simple move like that. So if the intent is to hurt or have the perception of hurt, then you can't do a nice pirouette roll out of that. And this is just one thing. This is not harping on Giulia or, stardom. It's just her debut was very, very cool. She got over, and Chelsea's always over. And it was an excellent debut for her. And like I said, there is more to come because we're going to see her in the main event against Roxanne Perez. Also, big shout out to Funaki. Nice to see Funaki as the translator. And I like that backstage that they did with Roxanne and her. And she got to show that she can speak English and have a little bit more of a connection. I liked all that, but also nice to see Funaki. And I wish he would have ended it with indeed.
Well, a few things from what you guys are saying. And again, this is what, puts us head and shoulders above a lot of other shows, is because you're getting that analyzation from you, Tommy, and from you, Bully, because these are things that the normal casual fan just does not see when they're watching these shows. And I love what you said, Tommy, about independent wrestlers seeing what they're doing, what they see on TV, because it gets a pop. It's like, all right, I have to use this in my match this weekend, where it's more about the spirit of fight, and how you get there is just as important than the move that you're actually going to do that gets that reaction on TV. But also, Tommy and Bully, this is probably why Giulia is a part of NXT. This is why she's in the Performance Center. She's not just getting thrown right in to the main roster, even though people know her. Obviously, a great reaction for her last night when she made her entrance, but this is all about chemistry and getting to know the quote-unquote WWE way. That's why she's a part of NXT and at the Performance Center, because I'm sure in time, then you can take that psychology that's used in the WWE, but also the athleticism, what she learned outside of the WWE. And I would think that's going to be the perfect marriage at some point.
It has to be. It has to be for you to be able to survive and become a much larger international star within the industry. The girl has all the qualifications, and she's already, like, with her debut, you're like, oh, this girl has it. And then again, it's just, Dave, it's going from college football to pro football, and it's still the game of football. It's a different style, different caliber of opponents. And it's time to, like, really, really, I don't want to say step up. That's not the proper word, but you have to get used to that system for a lot of different reasons. When they were touring all the time, your body physically would not be able to take that style all the time. It just, it couldn't happen because it's such a high demanding style. But there's going to be certain people that wouldn't want to take certain moves of your move set. And then, okay, well, if they're doing that, but if people don't want to take it, if there's a risk factor, like her finish was awesome last night. Safe, clean, looked vicious. I enjoyed it. I thought, again, she had a great debut, and is being fast tracked to be a massive star within WWE.
I would think that's true. The one thing I looked at, especially after our conversation that we had last week about Giulia, the one thing I looked for a lot, Bully, because you guys kind of threw some things out to me and to the fans to what to look for, was her selling. I thought she did a tremendous job selling. Chelsea's, everything that Chelsea did in the ring. And obviously we know what Chelsea can do in the ring as well. But I thought Giulia did a really good job of selling last night, Bully. Did you see the same thing as I did?
Give me a specific that stuck out in your mind of her really good job of selling.
Well, just again, and we talked about this a little bit on Monday, her facial expression.
There are no facials.
I didn't see that. I definitely saw facials in her last night during that match. Like she sold me at times during that match that she was in pain and she did sell for me. I at least I thought she did a terrific job with her facials last night. Tommy, did you see the same thing?
Yeah, listen, I wasn't studying the match to really overly critique it unless it was like a mismatch of where it just didn't work. But I thought the match worked last night. And, there would be, if I was the producer of the match, I would literally say, girls, you did a great job. You did this. Hey, you could always sell a little bit more, but also here, again, our system, your face. Or I would say this one thing, maybe instead of doing this, go to this. That would be my biggest two critiques, but I would say overall, great job. If I would give the match a grade, I would say A- for a debut. And, thank you, ladies, for working so hard. And, I was really happy with the outcome and the overall, because I also tell people, always remember first time viewer. And by a first time viewer means, hey, this is the first time I'm turning on this channel. And for a lot of people, that's the first time they get to see you. And for that, let me know what you are what you have. When I see, or I just did a great seminar in Utah and we talked about finishes. People say, well, I'm going to hit you with my finish and you could kick out, or I'm going to go for my finish and you get out. And I'd be like, cool, first time viewer, what is your finish? You don't have television behind you. You don't have any of these things where people know if it's, Bully throws up his hands, it's 3D because they've seen it on television for so long. Myself, DDT or a Dreamer Driver, where they've seen it for so long, they know what's my established finish. First time viewer. Every single independent show is a first time viewer. But television is different. Television, I saw that this woman's a star when she walks out. I know what her finish or what she's trying to establish as her finish with that knee strike, because they replayed it and reminded me of it. And then I saw her win a match with a different move that my commentator put it over. So when she does this move set later, I will know that that's her finish.
And and Bully, what I thought they did a great job with last night. And listen, I don't know if they manipulate the crowd at the Performance Center. If they do, it's not important. All right, so they do
I've
not.
Been there.
So
they do not.
Okay,
Those are organic pops.
Okay, so Bully, like it felt like last night. If you're not familiar with Giulia or you never seen Giulia wrestle, and there's probably a good portion of the audience that was watching last night that never saw her wrestle, they did a great job last night of saying, this person's important. This is a big deal. Like, Tommy said earlier, like Vic Joseph did a great job, even during the course of the match, of talking about her history and how important she is and how good she is. Like, it's established right away. And this is something that used to happen when we used to watch wrestling back in the day in the late 70s and early 80s, that like a Vince McMahon would do, or a Gorilla Monsoon would do, or even a Gordon Soley. Like, if this is the first time, or this is somebody that's coming from another territory, of why you need to watch this person. Bully, I thought they did a great job of that last night on NXT.
You guys sit here and keep doing great job, excellent job, great job, and talking about the first time viewer. Well, I was the first time viewer last night. And I did not come out of that whole segment going, oh my God, I was so blown away. Great.
I'm not talking about, wait, hold on, Bully. I'm not talking about the performance. I'm talking about the way they presented her last night.
Even with the way they presented her, I know what my eyes saw. I know what my ears heard. I thought it was a good first night introduction from Giulia. From the minute she came out to everything I saw from her, from everything I heard from the announce table, I did not leave that segment going, holy shit, this is the future of the WWE. I thought it was a good first night for her. I was not nearly as blown away with the words great, and Tommy even used the word excellent to describe it. I thought it was a good night, and there's nothing wrong with a good first night. Nothing wrong.
No.
But like, I didn't come out of last night with this same like, oh wow, like you guys have. It was a good match. I wasn't expecting better from her because of where she came from. You can't expect somebody who's spent time in Japanese wrestling companies to be able to come over here and all of a sudden master the WWE psychology, the WWE style, the sports entertainment style. But I thought she did not even a good enough job. I thought she did a good job. I think Chelsea helped get her there. Would I have liked to have seen?
Oh, I'm sure she did. I'm sure Chelsea.
Would I have liked to have seen more emotion from Giulia? Yes. Is Giulia's gimmick that she's more stoic and emotionless? Okay, if that is it, I'm going to have to see it play out week after week. Did anything that Vic Joseph or Booker say wow me? No. They gave me her background. They made me understand about her. So that's why I'm giving it a good B+, solid first effort, thumbs up.
Showing where she came from was great. You said they used to do that back in the day where they would actually share footage of, hey, this guy's coming to the territory. And show like a squash match of somewhere, or show a highlight reel from Mid-South that these guys are coming to the Mid-Atlantic. I know this because they did it with the Rock and Roll Express. Or they would lend those music videos. They showed that personality piece. Actually, I'm sorry, that's more of a highlight reel. A personality piece is something where we're getting to know your personality and background story. So that did you see that part, Bub?
Yes. Oh no, I'm
so
sorry.
I don't remember it. No.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like,
was
did
it
I see that
last
on
night?
social media? Yeah, I was like, did I see that on social media, or was that?
I'm pretty sure that was on. Was on
Yeah,
NXT
it was
last night. Yeah.
They just did like a 30-second highlight reel of like, hey, this is who's going to be facing, which I thought was different because Dave, like you said, they're trying to fast track the audience to show what a big star this person was.
But also they did
And
too.
Giulia,
they also put. Oh, go ahead. Bully.
Giulia has the potential to be a big star for the WWE. Last night was a good first step into getting her where they want her to be.
A few things. Number one, they did have that package on social media as well that ended with the face-off between her and Roxanne Perez to kind of sell what we're going to see on the CW. The Rock and Roll Express video that was shown throughout all the territories was Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss, Bully, just for your sake. That was one of the things that's used to sell the Rock and Roll Express. And then I it's funny, Bully, because you're saying like, you guys are saying great and wow and how impressed you were. When that segment was over last night, literally, I said, wow, that was great. I'm impressed. I literally said,
that's awesome.
There's nothing wrong with that. But see, that's the subliminal manipulation that the WWE is great at. They have already built her up that even if she went out there and had what I considered good, you looked at as great because they had her more built up in your mind. And that's what pro wrestling is. It's smoke and mirrors. So if the WWE last week made Giulia a big enough deal in your mind, and via social media made a big enough deal in your mind, and that 30-second clip made a big deal, you watch it and you go, wow, this was excellent. Okay. Then they manipulated you. And that's the name of the game.